Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Dominica's opposition preparing a legal challenge to the December 6 general election results. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, December 13th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The United Workers' Party, UWP, has announced its intention to go to the High Court to challenge the outcome of last week's general election, in which it was soundly beaten by the Dominica Labour Party, DLP. Opposition leader Lennox Linton told a UWP thank you rally on Thursday night that the party's lawyers have already started preparing the court documents. The DLP won a 5th consecutive term in office when it won 18 of the 21 seats in the House of Assembly, but Linton insists the election was tainted because the DLP had brought in thousands of overseas-based Dominicans to vote for the party in the polls. He's also adamant that electoral reform is necessary.
We are going to court with this matter. We have not had much success in the court over the years, but that is neither here nor there. It is a tool that we have that we will continue to use, because our contention is that things went wrong, and those things that have gone wrong must be set right. One of the planks on which we're moving forward is a court challenge, and we're in the process now of assembling the evidence, working with our legal team. But our struggle, our protest action for rights in Dominica must continue. And it's a protest, it's very simple. Electoral reform and fresh elections.
Despite the challenges to the outcome of the polls, Linton says the party accepts that the 3 seats that the UWP secured in the vote, including his, were legitimately won.
We don't recognize the government of Dominica, but we contested the election within the requirements of the Constitution and the laws of Dominica, and those of us who were returned successfully will exercise the option of taking our seats in the Parliament of Dominica.
Well, in addition to challenging the election results, the UWP leader said the party would also be going to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, regarding the use of tear gas by the regional security system and local police in the western village of Salisbury, where protests took place on the eve of the polls.
We have to commit ourselves that this atrocity, this crime against humanity in Salisbury that took place on the morning before election has to be dealt with. They will not have a commission of inquiry. We will have our people's commission of inquiry into what happened in Salisbury. And we will gather the evidence, and we will find a way to find our way before the International Court of Justice at The Hague, because crimes against humanity must be prosecuted and punished. Tear gassing sleeping people in their beds on the morning before election, that is not going to go like that.
Guyana's opposition leader Barrett Jagdio says if his People's Progressive Party, PPP, wins general elections on March 2nd next year, it will repeal the Natural Resources Act that had been established to manage the country's wealth from the oil industry. He said on Thursday that the passage of the legislation was illegal, as it came after the coalition government was defeated in a motion of no confidence in December last year. Jagdio said a PPP administration would pass new legislation that would be free from any political authority. More in this report from Newsroom's Fariza Hanif.
We are going to repeal this act, and then reenact a proper sovereign wealth fund that has appropriate safeguards and that will keep the management of the sovereign wealth fund at arm's length from political authority.
The opposition leader pointed out that the act was passed in the National Assembly after the no-confidence motion was validly passed against the coalition government.
The National Resources Fund is a fund that is created from a legislation that is illegal as far as we're concerned. So I don't know what's the big hullabaloo about this whole issue. It was passed after the no confidence motion was validly passed in the National Assembly. This bill was then passed by the National Assembly. So the government had fallen when this bill was passed.
On Wednesday, the Bank of Guyana, headed by Dr. Gobin Ganga, signed an agreement with the Ministry of Finance to operationalize the Natural Resources Fund ahead of first oil this month. The Memorandum of Understanding deals with the effective day-to-day management of the fund, but Jagdeo believes that this is a public relations stunt by the government.
Now this Gobin Ganga, if he gets a call from the minister, he runs over to the ministry. This is the central bank reports to the minister. How much independence do you have here? When Gobin Ganga, a big show is made about this pact that that they sign now between the central bank and the minister to manage the fund. It's all a show.
Jagdeo said that the PPP envisions a sovereign wealth fund that will be managed more technically rather than politically.
Meantime, some of the smaller political parties in Guyana are planning to form a coalition ahead of regional and general elections next year. That's the word from Robert Badal, the presidential candidate of one of those parties, Change Guyana. He made the announcement at a press conference on Thursday, although he did not say which of the other 6 parties launched this year would be coming together.
We are open to everyone who shared those vision, the vision and our values of integrity, accountability, a lean, progressive government. We are here to anyone, and I believe we have a few who will be joining us very soon.
A preliminary report by the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, paints a grim picture of the region's economic outlook, and Trinidad and Tobago in particular is expected to be negatively impacted. TTT's Sherilyn Lewis reports.
ECLAC Caribbean has given a grim economic outlook for the region, which it says will negatively impact Trinidad and Tobago's economy directly. ECLAC's preliminary overview of the Caribbean 2019 said global debt increased for 2019, trade weakened, energy exports and imports dropped, and investment declined. The report also stated that GDP per capita dropped 4% from 2014 to 2019. Summarizing the report, economist Indira Sajiwan Ali said things are looking grim for this country's economy in 2020.
It will be going into 2020 about 1.5% if we remove Guyana, because Guyana is really a special case. And in Trinidad and Tobago, it will remain in that same kind of vicinity.
Ms. Sajiwan Ali said the outlook for TNT's oil and gas sector isn't looking good either.
We have to wake up to the fact that the oil and gas economy, its days are numbered, and if we are to create sustainable jobs for our people, our young people, the other important thing that came out of this is a high incidence of unemployment amongst the youth. And if we are to create the kinds of opportunities that we need to for them, we need to engage in the transformation of this economy, and we need to start.
She recommended that the country should pay greater interest to sectors other than oil and gas.
However, when you look overall at the Caribbean, the countries that are growing are places like Grenada with 4.5%, Antigua Barbuda with over 5% growth, and I think about 6.5% growth. And these countries are growing largely because their focus is on the services sector.
According to the report, Guyana was the only Caribbean country which projected staggering growth.
A vital piece of legislation to decriminalize marijuana in Trinidad and Tobago is passed. We'll be right back with the details of that story.
On fire indeed, so hot that they scorched the football grounds 3 times in a row, retaining the Atlantic National Primary School Girls Under-15 football title for the 3rd straight year. It's why these footballers of Scarborough Roman Catholic Primary School got a hero's welcome at the A&R Robinson International Airport as they returned with championship trophy in hand.
May your victory inspire others.
The Dangerous Drugs Amendment Bill, one of 2 pieces of legislation to decriminalize cannabis in Trinidad and Tobago, has been passed in the Parliament. But as we hear in this TV6 News report, there were some late amendments to the bill.
A couple of them were related to the issue of consumption in public spaces. The definition was changed to exclude private non-commercial spaces, while the fine for use in public spaces was softened.
Propose that there will be a ticketable offense in the same route as being in possession of between 30 to 60 grams. We're saying if you're caught smoking in public and you are going to face the system, let's go through ticketable offense, fixed penalty, $2,000, because you really shouldn't be doing it in public. If you can't pay the $2,000, look at community service.
As it relates to the expunging of records, Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi said people charged with possession of up to 60 grams can ask for immediate dismissal. And with concerns raised about the severity of fines for possession upwards of 60 grams, the government opted for a more lenient approach.
Between 60 to 100, you may be subjected to $75,000 in a fine. In other words, then, not as large as the $250,000 and 5 years that we propose in this bill. We're saying between 60 to 100, maximum fine, $75,000. However, we're taking the steps that we've applied elsewhere. Community service.
The bill must now be passed in the Senate and assented to by the President to become law. The other piece of legislation that forms part of the decriminalization plan, the Cannabis Control Bill, which addresses regulation of the medicinal industry, has been referred to a joint select committee, which will meet on February 29th next year. The Jamaica government has reiterated its commitment to fighting crime, and the private sector groups have called on the administration and the opposition to reach a national consensus on crime. This after gunmen shot 9 people on Tuesday in the parish of St. Catherine. 4 of them died. A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister said while government has increased resources to law enforcement, there is need for partnership between citizens and the state. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who is currently in Japan, says better days are ahead in the fight against crime. Meanwhile, police say they will go all out to bring the shooters to justice. We get more in this report from TVJ News.
Fair among the people of Dover, community in Kitson Town, St. Catherine. As usual, they're expecting a reprisal from Tuesday's shooting of 9 people, in which 4 died. Today, the police commissioner, Major General Anthony Anderson, was in the area attempting to calm the fears of the residents. He addressed them at a parish church in the area, where he repeatedly told them that the police will be going all out to bring people to justice for the killings and ensure the community remains safe.
At this point in the investigation, we really don't want to say a lot. We're following a number of threads, but what I can tell you is that we're committed to dealing with this and following up on it. And wherever it leads, that's where we'll go.
The residents, still too fearful to reveal their identity, expressed optimism at the Commissioner's promise.
Yeah, I feel more confident, only knowing that if the police then will continue to be in the area. They have to be in the area because those criminals know how to get around.
Dover is generally a quiet community, and now there are speculations swirling as to why gunmen shot 9 people, killing 4.
This week in Newsline Entertainment, local, regional and international artists thrill music lovers at Kensington Oval in Barbados at Hennessy Artistry, and a temporary victory for the entertainment industry in Jamaica. Marie-Claire Williams has the details.
Music fans packed Kensington Oval last Saturday night for the annual Hennessy Artistry. The event saw performances from Taurus Riley, Dexter Daps, Hypersounds, among others. Anthony B was also one of the crowd favorites. The lead singer Davido also wowed patrons with his hit Fall.
Say, are you done talking? Say, tell me, baby, are you done talking? What? Are you done talking? Tell me, baby, are you done talking? Say, are you done talking? Tell me, baby, are you done talking? I don't wanna be a player no more. I don't wanna be a. Say, I don't wanna be a player no more. Say, 'cause my guys got me. Say, Mr. Ronaldo. What? Mama, Nintendo. Say, 'cause my guys got me. What? Say, Mr. Ronaldo. What? I'm on Nintendo. Yeah, let's go. Say, money for.
Nightclubs and partygoers in Jamaica scored a big win this week after Parliament amended the Noise Abatement Act to allow entertainment events to take place until 4 a.m. during the festive season. Under the law, during the week, the cutoff time for events is midnight, and on weekends, it's 2 a.m. But while promoters have welcomed the move, they will have to revert to the regular end times from February 1st. But they argue this is not good for business.
So right now, the foreigner them are if and but. If them buy them ticket and fly come in, them understand, you know. Jamaica, dancehall, our roots, our culture. You know what I mean? So the foreigner them have doubts, so the party them shut up early. Them now come, and it now gonna look good.
Marie-Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
Ahead in sport, Dwayne Bravo set to return to T20 cricket for the West Indies. Stay with us.
'Cause you are pure sunshine, baby. When you walk, you are hot up the place, girl. When you walk, you are hot up the place, girl. 'Cause you are pure sunshine, darling. When you walk, you are hot up the place, girl. Shine bright and hot up the place, girl. You make my love see grow.
Looking to skip the travel travel rush and get a holiday deal this Christmas? Liat has got you covered. Book our special promotional fare for travel on December 24th to 26th and December 31st to January 1st, 2020. Call our reservations team or your local travel agent or book now on liat.com. Book our promotional fare. No promo code required. Terms and conditions apply. Liat, it's the way we connect.
Well, as we find ourselves in the holiday shopping season, many of us are choosing to shop online, and why not? No crowds, no parking lot hassles, no long checkout lines, and in many cases, free shipping. The popularity of online shopping has spawned a new industry known as drop shipping. Simply explained, drop shippers create websites that look just like major online retailer sites, but with one important difference. In most cases, drop shippers have no inventory of their own.
So my real name is Elton Brown. I was born in St. Thomas in the hills of the Blue Mountains. Came to Kingston when I was 7. I'm living in Red Hills now. I went to Calabar Primary, went to St. George's College, and then I moved on to Edna Manley College. I mean, studying at Edna Manley College, it was great. The experience was like no other, because it's like it's a world of music. All my friends were musicians, the teachers.
Former West Indies all-rounder Dwayne Bravo is set to return to T20 cricket for the regional side. Cricket West Indies President Ricky Skerritt announced late Thursday that the Trinidadian will be available for selection ahead of next year's T20 World Cup. He welcomed the news, noting that Bravo has a performance track record that should never have been lost from the West Indies cricket talent pool. Skerritt said, quote, "Bravo's return reminds us what a negative impact politics and pettiness has had on our cricket. The possibility that Bravo, a former West Indies captain, can again be a fierce and formidable all-rounder in his maroon colours is a welcomed possibility," end quote. Bravo was part of the successful T20 squad that won back-to-back World Cups in 2016 and 2012. CWI's Director of Cricket, Jimmy Adams, expressed his pleasure at his return for possible selection. He said, quote, "His considerable experience and proven ability will strengthen the pool of players from which CWI will be able to choose their squads, whilst also providing increased competition for places," end quote. Bravo has made 66 T20I appearances in his career. He scored 1,142 runs and taken 52 wickets since his first T20I match in 2006. His last game for the West Indies was against Pakistan in September 2016. Cricket West Indies has appointed Australian Chris Brabazon as its first ever coach education manager. It's a move CWI says is a critical feature of its strategic plan to produce world-class players and winning teams through the development of West Indian coaches. The former Western Australia Cricket Association's coach development manager has signed a 3-year deal with CWI and is already overseeing a level 2 coaching course that began in Jamaica on Thursday. Brabazon played grade cricket for Collingwood Park in his late teens before also representing North Albany in league football. He holds a postgraduate certificate in business administration with a focus in cricket and has also worked in coaching, talent development and cricket management in Australia. Bermuda ended their second straight disastrous overseas tour with a whimper on Thursday as they slumped to a 5-wicket defeat against Italy at the close of the first stage of the Cricket World Cup Challenge League B. Italy romped home with 18 overs to spare after winning the toss and dismissing Bermuda for a modest 180. The Caribbean side's innings was highlighted by opener Kamau Leverock's explosive 15-ball 40, which included 9 fours. Derek Brangman at number 8 hit 25 from 29 balls, while Trey Mendars got 23, and Sussex all-rounder Delray Rollins, leading the team in the absence of Terran Frey, chipped in with 22. It was Bermuda's 10th successive defeat in completed matches, having lost all 6 games in last month's T20 World Cup qualifier in neighbouring United Arab Emirates. To basketball now, there are calls for sponsors to support regional champions Guyana ahead of their title defense at next year's tournament. More in this Newsroom Guyana report.
Guyana handsomely defeated Grenada in all 3 games at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall last weekend, and according to Coach Hercules, the team's performance was a 6 out of 10. Hercules felt his side could have done better in the areas of offensive systems execution and defensive discipline. Going forward, the coach opined that Guyana, the 2018 Caribbean Basketball Confederation champions, need to focus on securing sponsorship for 2020 to allow for more tournament engagements. Hercules said Guyana needs to be strategic about tours the country accepts or engages in. Ideally, Guyana should have regional tours, the National Club Championship, and participation in the 3x3 FIBA Under-18 and the 3x3 Under-18 Commonwealth Games 2020, Hercules stated. At the recently held games, the Guyanese proved a dominant force on home court, winning by a considerable margin in all 3 games. Guyana opened with a 90-73 win before winning Game 2 97-76 and the final clash 97-73. At a pre-series press conference, President of the Guyana Amateur Basketball Federation, Michael Singh, cited the need for more goodwill series in the Caribbean as the new year presents a busy schedule for teams. This, he pointed out, will allow countries to gauge the level of talent at their disposal as they embark on regional competitions.
And finally, the Bahamas athletics boss has heaped praises on national junior athletes for their improved performance this year. Jamaica Archer says there was a paradigm shift in the standard of performances at regional and international meets. But as we hear in this report from ZNS Network Sport, he's expecting even greater things in 2020.
PGA's president lauding the accomplishments of the country's junior track and field athletes for their performances in 2019.
Our greatest priority. We talk about our senior program. The senior program takes care of itself when we continue to nurture and develop our junior program. And so I have put pressure on all of the coaching community to say, if you don't make standards, if you don't produce the quality of athletes that we expect, then we don't see the results. And I think that in 2019, we began the march to seeing huge results, huge significant changes in the quality of our performances, and we're going to stick to that. I think that everyone understands what their job is, and I think that this year was really a year of paradigm shifting, because people just figure I come first or second in a trial and I therefore would automatically qualify for a team. Well, no. We look at a regional standard, and we, the Bahamas, believe that if we're not leading that standard, then we're not doing a good enough job.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Welcome to Dominica, a true fantasy island. Whether you're in search of extreme adventure or a family vacation or a relaxing getaway, Dominica is fun for everyone. And a place where you can totally disconnect and enjoy paradise. Discover Dominica, the nature island.
that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanadaNews.com, and for more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. But before we go, we want to invite you to be part of our Caribbean Christmas by telling us what Christmas means to you. Send us a video or audio message to CaribbeanChristmas@CaribVision.tv. Don't forget to include your name and the city you live in. We'll share your special message on CaribVision throughout the month of December. We look forward to hearing from you. From all of us at CMC News, thank you and good night.